Welcome back to Ronin Recap. Now on to the next chapter.
Sitting in the private room, he looked down at the lanterns hanging high in the lobby of Manhwa Hotel. The exquisite carvings and ancient decorations gave him a different feeling. Are there any specific rules for the auction here? Lin Fan asked. There aren't many rules. After you take a fancy to an item, you just have to raise the paddle on the table and increase the price, Lu Yuhang said. However, there is one thing you need to know, Lu Yuhang continued. Before the auction, you must have enough money. Otherwise, the consequences will be severe. This was no doubt a rule set for those who bid randomly. Lin Fan nodded his head. The two chatted for a while until Lu Yuhang's stomach suddenly felt uncomfortable, so he left the room. It was 12 p.m. The phone in Lin Fan's pocket vibrated. Red packets had appeared. Ding. Congratulations, you've received 10 yuan. Ding. Congratulations, you've received 10,000 yuan. Ding. Congratulations, you've received 1 bottle of Han Emperor Maotai. Ding. Congratulations, you've received 3 yuan. Ding. Congratulations, you've received 2,000 yuan. This time, Lin Fan received a total of 30,000 yuan and a bottle of Han Emperor Maotai. When Lin Fan raised his head, a bottle of Han Emperor Maotai, which was carved with an exquisite dragon pattern and looked like a jade seal, appeared in front of him. At the same time, Lu Yuhang pushed the door open and returned to the room. He looked at the weirdly shaped Han Emperor Maotai on the table and asked, "Brother Lin Fan, what's this?" "Wine, fine wine. Do you want to try it?" Lin Fan said. "Fine wine? Of course, I have to taste it. Just by looking at the packaging, I can tell that the taste is definitely not bad. Bad." Lu Yuhang licked his lips and said excitedly. Obviously, he was also a person who liked wine. Lin Fan picked up the bottle and was about to pour it into the glass in front of him. "Brother Lin Fan, let's pour the wine into the wine dispenser first," Lu Yuhang said. After hesitating for a moment, Lin Fan poured the wine into the wine dispenser. Immediately, a strong wine fragrance filled the entire private room. Lu Yuhang said, "What a fragrant wine! And the design is so beautiful." Lu Yuhang could not help but gulp. Lin Fan looked at his excited expression and immediately filled his glass. Lu Yuhang did not hold back and finished the drink in one gulp. He praised, "Good wine, good wine." Lin Fan took a sip as well. After closing his eyes, he nodded his head. At this moment, a white-haired old man in a tang suit and a tall beauty happened to pass by the private room. The old man sniffed and let out a soft sound. After a slight pause, he knocked on the door. Lu Yuhang, who was enjoying the wine, asked, "Do we still have any dishes that haven't been served?" "They should all be here," Lin Fan said. "Please come in." Lu Yuhang frowned. When he saw that it was an old man and a beautiful lady, Lin Fan's face was filled with doubt. Lu Yuhang's mouth was half open, and he was completely stunned. "I'm sorry to have disturbed your meal," the old man said apologetically. When Lu Yuhang heard the old man's voice, he slowly closed his mouth and said, "No. You're not disturbing us. Are you Elder Zhou?" "Oh. You know me?" the old man said. Lu Yuhang's face was filled with respect when he heard the old man's answer. "Hello, Mr. Zhou. I am Lu Sifan's grandson, Lu Yuhang. I've followed my grandfather to the Northern Chamber of Commerce to meet you once," Lu Yuhang said. Elder Zhou recalled for a moment. "So you're Lu Sifan's grandson. Your grandfather's medical skills are very good. He even treated my illness in the past. The next time you see your grandfather, please send my regards." "Grandpa will be very happy to hear this," Lu Yuhang said sincerely. If the Lu family was one of the top families in Jianbei, then the Zhou family was one of the top families in the entire country. Elder Zhou, Zhou Guotao, was the backbone of the Zhou family. One could only imagine how noble his status was. It was no wonder Lu Yuhang was so respectful. It was like a commoner meeting a noble. Actually, the reason why I took the liberty to come in was that I was attracted by the wine's fragrance. As Zhou Guotao spoke, his turbid eyes fell directly on the Han Emperor Mao Tai. A hint of reminiscence appeared on his old face. Lu Yuhang opened his mouth, but no words came out, and hashtag 120055, ONU and hashtag 119890, and hashtag 120417, and hashtag 120199, and hashtag 120102, and hashtag 120107, and hashtag 120107, and hashtag 119899, and hashtag 120098, and hashtag 119905. After all, the Han Emperor Mao Tai was not his. Lu Yuhang did not say anything and immediately gave the whole bottle to Zhou Guotao. Fine wine was indeed delicious. However, if he could use this opportunity to befriend Zhou Guotao, it would definitely be a great thing. The problem was that the Han Emperor Mao Tai was Lin Fan's, so he could not say much. "Old man, are you also a wine lover?" Lin Fan asked. "I've drunk it before. The taste is still fresh in my memory," Zhou Guotao said. Lin Fan nodded. "We were in the midst of eating. If you don't mind, why don't you sit down and join us? Then I won't be polite." Zhou Guotao laughed. The beauty standing beside him reminded him, "Grandpa, your body. It's fine. It's just a little wine." "It's no big deal," Zhou Guotao said. After he finished speaking, he sat down. When Zhou Guotao saw the wine dispenser, he frowned and said, "You're drinking the Han Emperor Mao Tai that's worth more than 30 million yuan and you're using a wine dispenser? It's a bit of a waste." Thump! Lu Yuhang's hands trembled when he heard Zhou Guotao's words. His chopsticks fell to the ground. He stuttered, "Elder Zhou. How much did you say the wine cost?" Zhou Guotao said, "There were only 10 bottles of Han Emperor Mao Tai produced in 1992. According to statistics, a total of 9 bottles of Han Emperor Mao Tai have been drunk so far. The last bottle was sold at an auction for 32 million 2 years ago. In front of you should be the only bottle of Han Emperor Mao Tai left in this world. If it were to be auctioned, the price would be at least 40 million. If it was someone else who had said that it was worth more than 40 million, Lu Yuhang would have spat in their face. However, the person who said that was the backbone of the Zhou family, Zhou Guotao. That meant, it was the truth. Gulp. Lu Yuhang swallowed hard, his face full of shock. A bottle of wine was worth more than 40 million yuan. He had just drunk a glass of it. How much was that? 500,000? 1 million? How much was the remaining wine in the wine dispenser? 300,000? 500,000? Even though Lu Yuhang was the young master of Lu Medical, he did not dare to spend like this. Then, Lu Yuhang's gaze returned to Lin Fan. Initially, Lu Yuhang thought that he was starting to understand Lin Fan. From the looks of it now, he might only know the tip of the iceberg of Lin Fan's abilities. He took out a bottle of Han Emperor Mao Tai that was worth more than 40 million yuan, and Lin Fan. What was his identity? Naturally, Lin Fan did not know what Lu Yuhang was thinking. He just poured a glass of wine for Zhou Guotao and said, "Old man, please." Zhou Guotao did not stand on ceremony. He picked up the glass and sniffed it. Then, he slowly poured it into his mouth. Instantly, Zhou Guotao's old face was filled with reminiscence and enjoyment. Not bad. This is the taste. It's rich and mellow, the texture is delicate, and the aftertaste is endless. As expected of Han Emperor Mao Tai. Zhou Guotao praised sincerely. Lin Fan said, "It seems that you really like it. I still have some of it left, so I'll give it to you." "Oh? Kid, are you willing to part with your wine?" Zhou Guotao was surprised. This is the last bottle of the Han Emperor Mao Tai in the world. Zhou Guotao was silently observing Lin Fan. He realized that his drinking actions were smooth and natural. He even had a bottle of Han Emperor Mao Tai. Obviously, he was also a person who liked wine. The old man knew very well how painful it was for a person who loved wine to give away a bottle of Han Emperor Mao Tai. It was definitely comparable to cutting his own flesh. Lin Fan said, Han Emperor Mao Tai is indeed rich, full, and complete. It has almost perfected every aspect of what a good wine should be. But sometimes, perfection doesn't mean it's the best. Sometimes, a slight shortcoming makes the wine more layered. From this point of view, 5-star and fairy are more distinctive. I don't like the Han Emperor Mao Tai, so it should go to the people who appreciate it. When Zhou Guotao heard Lin Fan's words, his wrinkled old face was filled with a strange light. A young man in his 20s actually understood wine to this extent. It was simply too rare. After a long while, Zhou Guotao laughed and said, if that's the case, then I'd be impolite if I refused. After a pause, he added, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Zhou Guotao. Kid, if you don't mind, you can call me Grandpa Zhou. How about it? The beautiful woman standing next to him could not hide her surprise. She rarely saw her grandfather introduce himself to young men. He had even asked him to call her Grandpa Zhou. Although Han Emperor Mao Tai was precious, her grandfather received many more gifts that were more valuable than that. She had never seen her grandfather like this. Could it be that this young man had something special about him? When the beauty thought of this, she could not help but re-examine Lin Fan from head to toe. Hello Grandpa Zhou, I'm Lin Fan said. Good, haha. Zhou Guotao laughed. Ring, ring, ring. At this moment, a light-hearted tune was heard in Xinhua Hotel. Zhou Guotao said, the auction is about to start, so I won't be staying for long. Lin Fan, I'll see you around. Goodbye, Grandpa Zhou, Lin Fan said. See you later, Mr. Zhou, Lu Yuhang said. After Zhou Guotao and the beauty left, Lu Yuhang said enviously, Brother Lin Fan, you can actually call him Grandpa Zhou. Lin Fan said calmly, he should be close to 80, right? What's the big deal with calling him Grandpa? What? The reason why the Zhou family was able to become one of the top families in the country is all due to Elder Zhou's efforts. If other people know that you can call him Grandpa Zhou, they'll definitely be so jealous that their teeth will be ground to dust. Lu Yuhang shouted excitedly. Lin Fan looked at Lu Yuhang with a smile. So jealous that their teeth will be ground to dust? Just like you? Then, Lu Yuhang poured some water into the wine dispenser. He then grabbed the wine dispenser and drank the water. What are you doing? Lin Fan asked. This is the last bottle of Han Emperor Mao Tai in the world. I can't waste it. Lu Yuhang said. Lin Fan was speechless. In another private room. The beauty first poured a cup of tea for Zhou Guotao, then could not help but say, Grandfather, why are you so friendly with that Lin Fan? Zhou Guotao took a sip of tea and said, that kid is magnanimous and profound. His future is limitless, and he'll turn into a formidable figure. The beautiful woman's eyes narrowed slightly. She rarely heard her grandfather give such a high evaluation of a young man. She could not help but look at Lin Fan's room as if she wanted to re-evaluate Lin Fan. At this time, a beautiful and graceful woman in a long red dress led 5 beautiful women with lanterns in their hands to the center of the lobby of Xinhua Hotel. Welcome to Xinhua Hotel, the beautiful woman said with a smile. Many treasures have been prepared for this auction. I hope you can buy something you like. In addition, 20% of the proceeds from the auction will be donated to charity in everyone's name. Let today's auction begin. The beautiful woman's voice was full of magnetism. Even though she had spoken in the middle of the lobby for a while, it did not cause any disgust in the crowd. On the contrary, it gave people the illusion that they were listening to a melodious song, which was very enjoyable. Soon, a round jade bowl with exquisite patterns was slowly brought up. This is the green chrysanthemum bowl from the Ming dynasty's official kiln, the beautiful woman introduced. This bowl once followed eunuch San Bao to the west. Be it the workmanship, the carvings, or the materials, they were all the best of the Ming dynasty. It can even be said to represent the peak of porcelain technology in the Ming dynasty. The starting price is 300,000. As soon as she finished speaking, someone immediately raised their paddle. 500,000. 800,000. When the price reached 2 million, the bidding slowed down significantly. In the end, the Ming dynasty green chrysanthemum bowl was sold for 2.3 million yuan. Following that, the beautiful woman held an auction for 2 more pieces of porcelain and a painting. Lu Yuhang and Lin Fan were not interested in these things, so they did not bid. The two of them ate desserts, drank tea, and occasionally chatted. They were quite relaxed and at ease. At this moment, another auction item was brought up. There's always a magical introduction to 100-year-old ginsengs in medical books and legends, the gorgeous beauty said. Thus, many people are tirelessly searching for the whereabouts of a 100-year-old ginseng. However, real 100-year-old ginsengs are rarely found. Today, we have a real 100-year-old ginseng. The starting price is 400,000. As soon as she finished speaking, an ancient ginseng was brought to the center of the lobby. A round-faced man with dark circles around his eyes, who was sitting in a private room on the 3rd floor, chuckled and said, "I've been feeling a little weak recently. It's the right time to eat a 100-year-old ginseng to replenish my energy." 500,000. The round-faced man raised his paddle and shouted. Almost at the same time the round-faced man finished speaking, Lin Fan also raised the bidding paddle in his hand and said, 5 million. He directly raised the price by 10 times. Lin Fan was determined to get the 100-year-old ginseng. He did not want to bid slowly. It was too troublesome. Originally, some people wanted to bid for the 100-year-old ginseng, but after hearing this price, they all let go of their bidding paddles. Those who were qualified to participate in the auction of Xinhua Hotel were not fools. They had heard some legends about 100-year-old ginsengs, but legends were just legends. The true medicinal effects of a 100-year-old ginseng were actually very limited. It was barely acceptable to spend hundreds of thousands or even $1 million to buy a 100-year-old ginseng. If one had to spend 5 million, it would not be worth it. Moreover, someone had directly called out a bid of 5 million. It was obvious that he was determined to get it. Once they competed with him, it would be easy for them to be hated by the other party. It was definitely not a wise thing to offend someone at Xinhua Hotel. All the bidders looked at Lin Fan and Lu Yuhang's private room curiously. Lin Fan was naturally calm. Lu Yuhang, on the other hand, was frozen. He knew that Lin Fan had been searching for 100-year-old ginseng all this while. For this reason, he even specially came to the capital from Jiangbei. However, Lu Yuhang did not expect Lin Fan to bid 10 times the original price, which was 5 million. After a while, Lu Yuhang gave him a thumbs up and said, "Brother Lin Fan, you're awesome." When Lu Yuhang gave him a thumbs up, the round-faced man in the room opposite them looked over. The round-faced man's face darkened slightly as he grunted. "It's Lu Yuhang. Damn. Do you want to play? I'll play with you until the end." The round-faced man raised his bidding paddle again. 5.2 million. The round-faced man had had a grudge against Lu Yuhang for a long time. He had just called out 500,000 when the other party immediately called out 5 million. The other party was definitely targeting him. Lu Yuhang was surprised to hear someone else make a bid. The Lu family had been in the medical field for generations, and he had a certain understanding of various medicinal herbs. Generally speaking, a 100-year-old ginseng was indeed precious, but its price was only worth around 2 million yuan. 5 million was definitely a high price. Also, Lin Fan had directly bid 5 million. He was clearly determined to win. Under such circumstances, most people would probably choose to give up as they did not want to offend anyone. What was the situation now? Lu Yuhang looked at the bidder with confusion. The next moment, Lu Yuhang's face turned dark. Wan Lang. Then, he turned to Lin Fan and said, Wan Lang and I have some conflicts. He's definitely trying to raise the price. A 100-year-old ginseng should be worth around 2 million. It's not worth it to continue bidding. Why don't we just give up? I'll get more people to pay attention, and I believe that we'll be able to find another 100-year-old ginseng soon. Lin Fan said casually, it's just money. It's okay. 10 million. He raised his paddle again. Whoosh. The entire place was silent. Lu Yuhang was stunned again. Yes. He knew that Lin Fan's family was really strong. However, he did not expect Lin Fan to bid 10 million. It felt like Lin Fan wasn't calling out 10 million but 1,000 yuan. He did it so casually as if he did not care at all. In reality, Lin Fan did not really care much about money. Lin Fan also believed that with the Lu family's power, they would definitely be able to find another 100-year-old ginseng. However, he did not want to wait any longer. Because every day he waited, his father, Lin Tao, would suffer another day. When Wan Lang, who was sitting in the opposite private room, heard Lin Fan's bid, his face darkened. The first time when he called out a price of 500,000, the other party directly increased the price by 10 times to 5 million. Now, he was bidding for 5.2 million, but the other party was bidding for 10 million. Provocation. This was a blatant provocation. Wan Lang squeezed his paddle, but he did not continue bidding. Even though his family was rich, Wan Lang's annual pocket money was only tens of millions. It was barely acceptable for him to take out a few million at once. It would be difficult to take out tens of millions. If he called out a high price of 10 million and the other party did not continue to bid, what should he do? Wan Lang's cold eyes glared at Lin Fan as he shouted, "Brat, you've got guts." The bidding continued. The next few items were all antiques, calligraphy, and paintings. Lin Fan was not interested in them at all. Thus, he did not bid anymore. When the last item was sold at a high price of 48 million, the auction at Xinhua Hotel came to an end. Two tall and beautiful women carried an exquisitely made wooden box and slowly walked into the private room. One of the beauties smiled and said, "Hello, sir. This is the 100-year-old ginseng that you bid for. Please check it." Lu Yuhang had seen a lot of precious herbs, but he was still interested. He walked up to them and said, TSK, so this is the 100-year-old ginseng that's worth 10 million yuan? Lin Fan picked up the 100-year-old ginseng and turned his attention to the system. Ding! Do you wish to collect the 100-year-old ginseng? Lin Fan's eyes lit up when he saw this. He understood that this was indeed a real 100-year-old ginseng. Where do I pay? Lin Fan asked. He could not wait to take the 100-year-old ginseng. You can swipe your card here. The other beauty said as she held the POS machine with both hands. All right, he said. Lin Fan nodded and took out a bank card. Beep. With a soft sound, the 10 million was successfully paid. At the same time, a notification rang out in Lin Fan's mind. Ding. System upgrade, level 5. Level 5 reward, 20 yuan for every breath, 20 yuan for every second of sleep, and 20 yuan for every step taken. Rewards are distributed at 12 a.m. daily. Upgrade cost, 3.02 million/50 million, not including gifts and gambling. In addition, all items obtained from the system are prohibited from being traded. Ding! Level 5, mission system activated. The reward for level 5 was double that of level 4. Which meant that Lin Fan could earn at least 1.4 million a day. Then, Lin Fan turned his attention to the mission system. Mission system: when the host touches an item or encounters an event, a mission will be randomly triggered and a certain reward will be obtained. The two beauties put down the 100-year-old ginseng and put away the POS machine. They bowed slightly and said, "I wish you a good time at Xinhua Hotel." Then, they slowly walked out. "Brother Lin Fan, you seem to be very happy," Lu Yuhang said. "Of course, I'm happy to have bought a 100-year-old ginseng," Lin Fan said. At this moment, a series of heavy footsteps came from the corridor. Then, the round-faced Wan Lang strode in with two men in plaid shirts. "Wan Lang, what are you doing here?" Lu Yuhang asked, frowning. However, Wan Lang did not seem to hear Lu Yuhang's question. He stared coldly at Lin Fan and said, "Brat, you're very arrogant." Lin Fan thought for a moment and knew what he was referring to. He said calmly, "If you don't have money, then don't attend the auction." "Why are you talking so much nonsense?" King. Wan Lang was instantly enraged. The two men in plaid shirts behind him took a step forward as though they were about to teach Lin Fan a lesson. "It seems a little noisy here. Kid, do you need my help?" Zhou Guotao's low voice came from the corridor. "It's just a small matter." "Grandpa Zhou, there's no need to trouble you," Lin Fan said. "Okay, if there's anything, just let me know." After Zhou Guotao finished speaking, he walked straight ahead. However, before he left, he glanced at Wan Lang. It was this glance that made Wan Lang tremble in fear, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. The pillar of the Zhou family, Old Master Zhou. He actually called the young man in front of him kid. Heavens! What kind of terrifying existence had he offended? The Wan family could be considered a powerful family in the entire capital. However, in front of the Zhou family, they were just slightly bigger ants. If the Zhou family's old master, Zhou Guotao, wanted to destroy the Wan family, all he had to do was say the word. He had just offended the person Zhou Guotao called kid? The more Wan Lang thought about it, the more terrified he became. Finally, he bowed slightly and cupped his fists. Brother Lin Fan, it was all a misunderstanding just now. I'm sorry. Wan Lang was a second-generation rich kid, and he cared about his reputation the most. Making him bow and apologize on his own initiative was definitely something very difficult to do. However, no matter how difficult it was, he had to do it. It was because Wan Lang knew that if he did not appease Lin Fan today, tomorrow, perhaps the entire Wan family would face a terrifying disaster. Lin Fan glanced at Wan Lang and said, "As a person, one should always be calm and collected. An apology this time can solve the problem, but as for the next time, that'll be hard to say." "Yes, Brother Lin Fan, you're right." Wan Lang nodded his head like a chicken pecking at rice. Lin Fan said, "Also, I didn't mean to provoke you. It's just that I'm determined to get this 100-year ginseng and can't be bothered to compete with others." If Lin Fan had said something like that earlier, Wan Lang would have definitely spat in his face. He was too lazy to keep bidding, so he directly increased the price by a few million. A few million? Do you think I'm stupid? However, Wan Lang did not dare to have such thoughts now. A person who was on good terms with the old master of the Zhou family would not even bother to lie. He had no choice but to bow even lower and nod in agreement. After Wan Lang left, Lu Yuhang burst out laughing. "Brother Lin Fan, did you know? I've never seen Wan Lang act so submissively before. He was just like fish on a chopping block. Cool. It's so cool." Lin Fan chuckled and shook his head as he strolled outside. The two of them got into the Mercedes-Benz S500. Just as they drove past the entrance where the elevators were, they happened to see an old man lying on the ground with his hand on his chest. A shocked beautiful woman was beside him. Lin Fan took a closer look. It was Zhou Guotao and his granddaughter. "Stop the car!" Lin Fan shouted. Lu Yuhang slammed on the brakes. His expression changed as he followed Lin Fan. "Hurry! Hurry and send my grandfather to the hospital. The beauty shouted. Lu Yuhang and Lin Fan did not hesitate. They lifted Zhou Guotao up and quickly got into the car. They headed to the nearest hospital. On the way, the beautiful woman held Zhou Guotao's old hands tightly, her tears falling like rain. Grandpa, Grandpa. You'll definitely be fine, you'll definitely be fine. At this moment, she was like a frightened deer, no longer as calm and composed as before. Hurry up, hurry up. Lu Yuhang wanted to drive faster, but there were too many cars in the capital, and the traffic was too heavy. I'll drive, Lin Fan said. Lu Yuhang immediately thought of Lin Fan's superb driving skills and immediately switched seats with him. Is it okay to violate the rules? Lin Fan asked. Of course, there's no problem. Lu Yuhang said. Boom! After Lin Fan got Lu Yuhang's confirmation, he stepped on the gas and sped through the narrow alleys and between cars. No matter what was in front of him, he continued to drive at top speed. In less than 10 minutes, the Mercedes-Benz S500 came to a steady stop at the entrance of the hospital. The beautiful woman had already made several calls in the car. At that moment, a large group of doctors and nurses were already waiting at the entrance. When they saw the Mercedes-Benz S500, they swarmed over and carried Zhou Guotao out on a stretcher. They checked and treated Zhou Guotao as they walked quickly to the ward. Outside the VIP ward, the beauty's tears did not stop. On one hand, she was worried about her grandfather's health. On the other hand, she had gone out with her grandfather alone this time. What if her grandfather? She really did not know what to do. Thud, thud, thud. At this moment, a series of hurried footsteps could be heard in the distance. A large group of luxuriously dressed men and women quickly walked over. Among them, Zhoujin, who was about 50 years old and had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, looked at the beautiful woman and said, Zishan, what's going on? Zhoujin, the current head of the Zhou family, was also Zhou Zishan's father. Zhou Zishan wiped away the tears on her face and said honestly, after I went out with Grandpa today, we went straight to Xinhua Hotel's auction. As soon as we arrived at the parking lot, Grandpa suddenly fell ill. At this point, Zhou Zishan's tears could not help but fall again. Xinhua Hotel? Someone asked. Did the old man eat anything? Zhou Zishan replied, Grandpa had a cup of pu'er tea and a piece of cake. And he drank a cup of wine. What? The old man's health isn't good, so why did you let him drink? Nonsense! Zhoujin shouted. Beside her, Zhou Shihong, who looked similar to Zhoujin, looked at the Han Emperor Maotai that looked like a dragon-shaped imperial jade seal. He asked, is this what he drank? Yes, it is, Zhou Zishan replied. Brother, you can't blame Zishan for this, Zhou Shihong said. The old master drank Han Emperor Maotai. Even we might not have been able to stop him. When Zhoujin heard this, his expression relaxed slightly. He knew very well how much the old man liked Han Emperor Maotai. Did you get this wine from Xinhua Hotel? He asked. He gave it to Grandpa. Zhou Zishan pointed at Lin Fan, who was not too far away. He's also the one who sent Grandpa to the hospital in time. Everyone from the Zhou family looked at Lin Fan. Lu Yuhang's heart tightened, and he quickly explained, we were drinking in the private room at that time. Old Master Zhou smelled the wine and took the initiative to come in. After that, we saw Elder Zhou lying on the ground in the parking lot, so we sent him to the hospital. It was no wonder Lu Yuhang was so nervous. After all, the power of the Zhou family was too terrifying. If the Zhou family thought that they had intentionally tried to harm Zhou Guotao, that would be a very terrifying thing. Zhou Zishan, who was beside him, added, he's right. Also, Grandpa has a very high opinion of Lin Fan. Oh? Zhoujin, Zhou Shihong, and the others were all surprised. At the same time, they started to size Lin Fan up. They knew very well how high the old man's standards were. He had a very high evaluation of a young man? That was truly unbelievable. Thank you for sending the old man to the hospital, Zhou said. Lu Yuhang heaved a sigh of relief and said, You're welcome. It's what we should do. Creak. At this moment, the door to the VIP ward opened. A few doctors walked out with tired faces. How's my dad? Asked Zhou. The bald doctor who stood at the front opened his mouth, and his face was contorted. It would have been fine if it were an ordinary patient. However, the person lying inside was old Master Zhou Guotao. If he did not handle it well, not to mention him but even the entire hospital would not be able to bear the responsibility. Doctor, you can just be direct, Zhou said after taking a deep breath. For the time being, we can only use equipment and medicine to keep the old man alive for a few hours, the bald doctor said carefully. Boom! The Zhou family felt as though the sky was falling. The Zhou family was completely developed by Zhou Guotao. There were countless complicated relationships, all of which were closely related to Zhou Guotao. If the entire Zhou family was compared to a towering building, then Zhou Guotao was the foundation of the building. If there was a problem with the foundation, the entire building might collapse. It was definitely something that the Zhou family could not bear. Everyone's heart was heavy to the extreme. Zhou Zishan's face turned pale. She had gone out with her grandfather, but her grandfather. Her tears fell like raindrops. The atmosphere in the corridor was extremely heavy. Doctor, is there no other way? Zhou asked with great difficulty. The bald doctor was silent for a moment before he said, For the time being, there's no better way. Zhou took another deep breath and said, All right, I got it. After he finished speaking, he prepared to walk toward the ward. He wanted to spend one last moment with Zhou Guotao. At this moment, Lin Fan, who had been standing at the back without saying anything, finally spoke, Perhaps I can save Grandpa Zhou. As soon as these words were spoken, Zhou suddenly stopped in his tracks. Everyone in the Zhou family turned their attention to Lin Fan. Lu Yuhang, who was standing beside Lin Fan, turned pale. The doctor had said that Zhou Guotao could not be treated. However, Lin Fan said he could possibly treat the old man. If Zhou Guotao could really be saved, it would definitely be a great thing. However, the question was it possible? Lin Fan was just someone of the same age as him. It was good enough that the Zhou family did not blame them for Zhou Guotao's illness. If there was a problem with the treatment, the consequences were too terrifying. Lu Yuhang thought for a while, and his forehead was covered in sweat. He opened his mouth, seemingly wanting Lin Fan to take back his words. However, being stared at by the Zhou family, he could not say a word. Zhou turned around and slowly walked in front of Lin Fan, asking, You can save the old man? I can try. Of course, I'm not completely confident, Lin Fan said. He wanted to get the 100-year-old ginseng so that he would have the right to purchase medical water. However, he was not sure if medical water could cure Zhou Guotao. He could only give it a try. The reason why Lin Fan decided to take action was that, for one, it was because when they were drinking earlier, he felt that Zhou Guotao was a good person. Secondly, when the auction ended, Zhou Guotao had come out to ask Wan Lang to leave, which was a bit of help. Then I'll have to trouble you, Zhou said. You believe me? Lin Fan said. I believe in the old man's judgment. Zhou said. Lin Fan nodded and said, When I'm treating Grandpa Zhou, there can't be anyone else or any surveillance equipment in the ward. All right. Zhou nodded. Someone could not help but say, the old man only has a few hours left now. What if he can't even see us one last time? Lin Fan said, Don't worry. I'll come out within an hour. After he finished speaking, he strode toward the VIP ward. Click. After the door closed, the atmosphere in the corridor became heavy again. Lin Fan looked at Zhou Guotao, who was lying on the bed with tubes all over his body. He was unconscious, and Lin Fan sighed. Then, Lin Fan took out the 100-year-old ginseng from his pocket. Ding! Do you wish to collect the 100-year-old ginseng? Yes. In an instant, the ginseng in his hand disappeared. At the same time, the image of a ginseng appeared next to the Ganoderma in the medical water illustration card in his mind. Ding! You've obtained the right to purchase medical water. Medical water, a magical medicine that can heal all wounds after consumption. 10 million yuan per bottle. Purchase. In the next moment, a 50 milliliters clear solution appeared in Lin Fan's hand. I hope it's useful, Lin Fan mumbled. After that, he slowly poured the contents into Zhou Guotao's mouth. Then, he observed Zhou Guotao's changes. Lin Fan was filled with curiosity and anxiety about the effects of medical water. That was because he was prepared to let his father take one too. 1 minute. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. Originally, the electrocardiograph next to Zhou Guotao was only a weak up and down pulse. However, it soon became a big waveline. Soon after, a hint of red gradually appeared on his withered and sallow face. After about 30 minutes, Zhou Guotao, who had been unconscious, finally opened his eyes. He first looked around in a daze, then slowly sat up. Outside the corridor. As time passed, more and more members of the Zhou family rushed to the hospital. They were all like ants on a hot pan, pacing back and forth in the corridor. Their faces were full of anxiety. In reality, they were not the only ones who were anxious. Even the usually calm Zhoujin was the same. At this moment, a white-haired old man came to the corridor with the help of 2 people. Hello, second great uncle, Zhoujin hurriedly greeted. How's your dad now? I heard that a young man went in to save him? The old man asked. That's right, the old man has taken a liking to him. Zhoujin nodded. The old man nodded, his turbid eyes fixed on the ward, full of worry. In the corridor, there was the sound of footsteps again. National Dr. Wan is here. Someone shouted. It's National Dr. Wan. Everyone from the Zhou family was excited. National Dr. Wan, whose real name was Wan Qingyun, was one of the most famous miracle doctors in the country. Elder Wan, I've troubled you to come all the way here, Zhoujin walked forward and said. I've been good friends with old Master Zhou for many years, Wan Qingyun said. How could I not come when he's seriously ill? Quickly take me to see the old master. Zhoujin hesitated for a moment before he said, earlier, there was a... His friend went in to treat the old man, and he doesn't allow anyone to disturb him. Friend? Wan Qingyun was puzzled. Who is it? I'm not too familiar with him either, but the old master has taken a liking to him. He's been in there for more than half an hour. He said he'll be out in an hour, Zhoujin said. Like this? Wan Qingyun pondered for a moment and said, let me see the latest results of old Master Zhou's examination first. A doctor quickly handed over a large stack of medical cases. In the next moment, Wan Qingyun's pupil shrank as he exclaimed, what? The old man's health has already reached such a state? No. I have to go in quickly. Seeing Wan Qingyun's intense reaction, Zhoujin's heart tightened. He could no longer care about Lin Fan's request to not be disturbed and led Wan Qingyun toward the door of the ward. Even though Lin Fan did have an extraordinary aura, he was too young. Zhoujin did not dare to hand the old man over to him completely. It would be too late for regrets if he missed the best time for the old man's treatment. Creak! Creak! At this moment, the door of the ward suddenly opened.
Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and see you in the next chapter.